For a quick summary, there is an X virus that has swept across the United States, creating a mutant utopia while leaving everyone else to suffer. Peter has doused himself in lethal radiation just to survive the virus, which is why he carries the radioactive moniker. Peter has found a way to keep himself alive, but he has failed to cure his aunt, who is now a mindless monster threatening the entire city. This sets the hopeless tone of the world before we jump straight back into the action. We open immediately in a high-stakes future setting, specifically 11 years ahead of the current timeline. The visual tone is established right away with dark, oppressive colors and high-tech machinery that looks like it is barely holding together. We see a massive, chaotic structure, some kind of chamber, dominating the background. In the foreground stands Peter Parker, older, scarred, and completely worn down. He is speaking with an unseen scientific intellect, likely an AI or a remote Otto Octavius, as they analyze the situation. The source of their desperation is revealed to be Aunt May, but not the woman we once knew. The visuals show that she has mutated into a monstrous entity, a biological horror described as having explosive cellular augmentation. The panel layout highlights Peter's isolation and helplessness as he is told that her brain function is gone, leaving behind only a creature driven by instinct and rage. We then see Miles Morales, wearing a different spider suit, physically shaking Peter, trying to snap him out of his scientific denial. The frustration on Miles's face is raw, while Peter's expression is hollow and devastated. The scale of the threat explodes on the second page. We are shown just how massive the monster Aunt May has become. It is a kaiju-level threat, ripping through city infrastructure with ease. Gwen Stacy, as Ghost Spider, swings into the chaos looking tiny compared to the beast she is trying to stop. Destruction fills every panel as debris flies and the environment collapses around them. The story makes one thing clear. This is not a villain they can simply punch into submission. It is a force of nature, completely overwhelming the heroes. We return to fast kinetic action. Gwen and Miles desperately try to control the battlefield. Gwen swings through the air, narrowly avoiding the creature's massive limbs, while shouting for Peter to make a decision. Miles fires his venom blasts, glowing with bioelectric energy, attempting to herd the monster away from populated areas. They are fighting in a dense urban zone, with families and civilians only blocks away, raising the stakes even higher. Peter remains stuck in bargaining mode, suggesting scientific solutions like removing oxygen to subdue her, but the others realize these half measures are pointless. The emotional conflict reaches its breaking point here. Miles confronts Peter both physically and verbally. He is angry and pleading, while Peter is clearly falling apart. Miles states the brutal truth. The person Peter is trying to save has been dead for a decade, replaced by this creature. The monster cuts into this argument by snapping at them. We see a close-up of Peter's face, battered and bloody, as he processes Miles's words. He admits to being offended, but his expression shows it is only a defense mechanism. He is running out of excuses, and the weight of the world is crushing down on his shoulders. A stark contrast appears between memory and present horror. A monochromatic flashback shows a quiet, peaceful kitchen scene. A younger, healthy Aunt May speaks to Peter, calmly discussing her final wishes. She hands him legal papers and clearly states that she does not want to be a burden or have her life artificially prolonged. This gentle memory is violently shattered as the present bursts back with color and destruction. The monster roars, a terrifying mass of purple and red, as Peter fires a web line, looking completely desperate. His position forces the viewer to confront exactly what Peter is betraying by keeping her alive in this state. The perspective then shifts to Cecilia Reyes. She is generating a large, glowing force field to hold back the monster or the collapsing debris, but she is clearly struggling. She is a veteran, someone who understands war and triage, yet this situation is pushing her to the edge. Her face is strained, sweat and tears streaming down. as she begs Peter to face the reality of the families in danger. The page composition surrounds Peter with the desperate faces of his allies, Cecilia, Gwen, and Miles, all shouting for him to do the one thing he refuses to do. This is the climax. Peter finally snaps. We see him power up, his chest glowing with the green radioactive energy that defines this version of him. Peter declares, "My family and my responsibility," as he launches himself straight at the monster. He is no longer holding back. He unleashes a massive burst of energy, likely radioactive, directly into the creature's mouth. It is a brutal, blinding attack that floods the bottom of the page with green light and impact lines, showing that Peter has stopped trying to contain the problem and has finally chosen to end it. The aftermath of the attack follows. The smoke clears, and the atmosphere shifts from frantic action to a grim standoff. We see the outline of the monster reeling from the blast. Cecilia drops her shield, completely exhausted. There is a tender moment between Gwen and Miles. Gwen checks on him, and Miles, despite the carnage around them, tries to be the brave hero and tells her to go. The focus then returns to Peter, who looks terrifyingly resolved. The art casts heavy shadows over his face, making him look less like a hero and more like a force of vengeance as he prepares for the final step. We briefly cut away to the antagonists. A squad of heavily armored, robotic-looking troopers moves through the sewers or underground tunnels. Their leader gives orders, describing their mission as righteous but unsanctioned. They speak with open disgust toward the genetic garbage, the mutants. The environment around them is dark, wet, and claustrophobic. Now Peter does not only have to deal with the monster, a death squad is closing in on his location. What follows is a truly heartbreaking montage. We see sharp contrasts between past and present. The armored squad advances while the monster's teeth gnash violently. In between these images, we see flashbacks from Peter's life, moments of him being a hero, helping people, and living as the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. We see him as a child and as a young man, learning life lessons from Aunt May, standing in painful contrast to the scarred warrior he has become. These images blend together to show the core of Spider-Man, helping people even when they are unkind, even when it hurts. It is a sad reminder of the innocence lost in this dark timeline. Peter is running toward danger, his body blurring with speed and energy. The narration reflects on death as the last great adventure, a clear nod to classic literary ideas, framing what is about to happen not as defeat, but as a journey. The story becomes frantic and almost impressionistic, capturing the rush of adrenaline and the finality of Peter's choice. He is running toward the monster, not away from it. Peter enters the belly of the beast, literally or figuratively. He is now inside the lead-lined containment chamber, the stasis chamber mentioned earlier. Computer screens glow around him as heavy blast doors seal shut. Peter overrides the fail-safes. The plan is finally revealed. He is going to flood the chamber with a lethal dose of radiation, 10,000 rads in half a second. He types furiously, his mask reflecting the eerie green light of the screens. Outside the glass, the monster looms. He acknowledges that she is his mother figure, but he knows he has to do this. The countdown begins, radiation emitters charging up. Peter stands before the monster, separated by glass or force fields that are rapidly failing. The monster's face fills the space, enormous and terrifying, while Peter looks small and resigned. He apologizes with a simple, "I'm sorry." The tension is overwhelming as everything builds toward a single button press. Green lightning and radiation rip through the scene. The monster is swallowed by the energy. It is chaotic, violent, and raw, showing the sheer destructive force Peter unleashes. There is no beauty or grace here, only power wiping everything clean. The monster vanishes, replaced by the human form of Aunt May lying on the ground. It is unclear whether this is physically happening or if it is a psychic projection or hallucination as they both die. Radiation levels spike to critical. Peter reaches out to her. In the center of a nuclear storm, there is a moment of peace. Peter and May are together. Peter is unmasked, crying, looking like a child again. May comforts him. They talk about the life he could have lived, going to Mars, studying at Oxford. It is a painful vision of what could have been. May tells him that, in the end, he will have two thoughts: the fear of being alone and the peace that comes from letting go. Their love is at the center of this moment. We cut back to the outside. Miles, Gwen, and Cecilia stand watching the chamber as it all comes to an end. The dialogue boxes carry May's final psychic message, thanking Peter for making her life glorious and for finally letting her go. The heroes huddle together, mourning. The page is quiet and somber, focusing on the grief of those left behind. We then see Peter lying in the wreckage. Smoke rises from his body and the shattered surroundings. He looks broken, possibly dead or trapped in a coma. The monster is gone. The green energy has faded, leaving behind only shadows and rubble. It is a stark and lonely image, emphasizing the terrible cost of this victory. At the very end, we see a villainous figure, Revelation, standing over defeated heroes, delivering a line about survival of the fittest. This sets up the next chapter, X-Men: Age of Revelation finale. It confirms the setting and the larger conflict, reminding us that even though this battle has ended, the war for this broken world is far from over.